Meanwhile, in Saudi Arabia, the US seems to be making some headway. This is about the conflict in Gaza. Washington is hoping to get some help from Riyadh. In return, they've offered some incentives. It's an old proposal that they're looking to revive. A defense agreement. The deal will be between the US and Saudi Arabia. It may lead to normalization of ties between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Like I said, an old proposal. The negotiations started last year, but when Hamas attacked Israel in October, the talks were put on hold. Then in January this year, the US and Saudi Arabia resumed discussions. They were making decent progress, but now there seems to be a sense of urgency. The US wants to seal the deal as soon as possible, and Saudi Arabia is on board. Their foreign minister spoke about it earlier this week. He said they are, quote unquote, very close to a deal. And what is this deal? The Saudi kingdom will get US military protection. In return, Saudi Arabia will engage with Israel and take steps towards normalization. That is a broad outline. It may sound like a simple deal, but it's fraught with complications. For starters, Riyadh has a long wish list, both for Biden and Netanyahu. They want three things from America. Number one, advanced military weapons. Number two, American investments in high-tech spaces like artificial intelligence and quantum computing. And number three, nuclear technology. US help in developing a Saudi civilian nuclear program. That's what Riyadh wants. Washington finds these requests reasonable, so they'll most likely be accepted. The challenge comes with Israel. Saudi Arabia always had some demands from Israel, but now, after the destruction in Gaza, the Saudis have raised the bar. This is their precondition for normalization. End the war in Gaza and spell out a path for Palestinian statehood. This is what Netanyahu must do. Saudi Arabia says it won't settle for anything less than this.
I think on the bilateral agreements between the Kingdom and the US, we are very, very close. Most of the work has already been done. We have the broad outlines of what we think needs to happen on the Palestinian front. Obviously, from our perspective, when we've coordinated this closely with the Palestinians, it needs to be truly a pathway to a Palestinian state.
So the question now is, will Netanyahu agree? There's a good chance he may not, and I'll tell you why. 3 months back, he met Antony Blinken, the US Secretary of State. Blinken shared the Saudi proposal with Netanyahu, including the demand for Palestinian statehood. And Netanyahu rejected it, apparently instantly. There is little to suggest that he's had a change of heart since. Even if he wants to, his coalition partners won't let him. They will bring his government down. He depends on some hardliners to remain in power. One of them said a separate Palestinian state would, quote unquote, lead to a Holocaust. That should tell you about their extreme position. Prime Minister Netanyahu won't risk his chair for Saudi normalization unless he's forced to. Can the US and Saudi Arabia do that? Apparently, they plan to. Reports say they will give Netanyahu two options. Option one, join the US-Saudi deal, get a new powerful diplomatic ally and substantial investment commitments. Option two, sit out of the deal, lose allies and benefits. It's not really a choice. It's my way or the highway. Irrespective of Netanyahu's response, the US and Saudi Arabia are prepared to strike a deal, and this will have repercussions for both regional and global players, including China. Reports say when this agreement with America is signed, Saudi Arabia may curtail Chinese investments, especially in strategic areas like technology and mobile networks. So the US stands a lot to gain. The deal could restore America's position as a net security provider in the region. More importantly, recover America's waning influence in West Asia. But this leverage would be meaningless if it fails to end the war in Gaza.